Recording in progress.
Good evening, and welcome to Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey's 2021 virtual annual meeting. I'm Jody Heimler, and it is my pleasure to be your host this evening. For 15 years, I was a proud member of the Jewish Federation professional staff until my retirement this past January. Tonight, I am here as a proud Federation volunteer and donor. I have seen firsthand the life-saving and life-changing work of Federation, and I look forward to this meeting every year where we can come together to recognize the important work that Federation does every day to celebrate the outstanding achievements of members of our community and to elect the new board members and officers who will lead our community for the upcoming year. We are honored to welcome the leadership of many of our agencies who are with us tonight, as well as our synagogue leaders, including rabbis, presidents, and executive directors. You are the backbone of this community, and this community is so appreciative of your dedication. This year in particular, our community was stretched to the limits, and our dedicated partners never stopped and never lost focus. Thank you to you, your leadership, and your staff for working tirelessly on behalf of our community in the face of such challenges. And now I'd like to begin our meeting with a short video, just a taste of the many functions of Federation. Josh?
Can you believe all the Ings Federation does in our community? In 2020, a year we never imagined than ever before, Every Ing made our community stronger. Every Ing helped young families build their Jewish identity. Every Ing kept our community safe and secure. And this year, Every Ing helped those suffering due to the pandemic. All of this happens because of you. This truly was a year we never imagined, but Federation was truly built for this moment.
And now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce my friend, Roberta Abrams, past president of Jewish Federation and current chair of our Endowment Foundation. Roberta also serves as chair of the nominating committee and will run our elections. Roberta?
Thank you, Jody. Okay. I would like to begin by thanking our outgoing officers whose terms are expiring. Rena Donen-Schlussel, outgoing Vice President of Planning and Allocations, and Larry Weiss, outgoing Secretary. Your leadership and contributions have been invaluable, and I am so happy you have both agreed to serve as Board of Trustees, on our Board of Trustees. In addition, I want to thank those board members whose terms are expiring: Fred Fish, Karen Farber, and Michal Levin. We also want to wish well and good luck to outgoing board member Steve Rogers, who is leaving us to chair the board at the JCC on the Palisades. You are all truly dedicated to our community and to Federation, and we thank you for your service. At this point, I am pleased to present the nominees for officers and trustees of the board as set forth in the formal announcement in the Standard and the link on May 14th. The following officers that have been nominated: Lee Lasher, President; Suzette Diamond, Co-Vice President of Financial Resource Development; Daniel Hers, Co-Vice President of Financial Resource Development; Joelle Halpern, Vice President of Planning and Allocations; Tracy Zur, Vice President at Large; Bruce Brafman, Treasurer; Donna Weintraub, Secretary; Daniel Schluffman, next in line for President in 2020, and I will still be in place as immediate past President. In addition, the following have been nominated for trustees for 2-year terms: Lisa Marcus Abramowitz, Lori Bader, Ruth Cole, Judy Taub Gold, David Goodman, Adam Groveman, Casey Halper, Andrew Jacobs, Andrew Kent, Nathan J. Lindenbaum, Zvi S. Marins, Rena Donen-Schlussel, Paula Shaman, and Jeff Tucker. Please know that the following trustees who were elected last year in 2020 still have 1 year remaining in their terms: Merle Fish, Glenn Kistler, Marnie Kriegel, MD, Joan Krieger, Jeffrey Lewis, Jane Petak, Stephanie Goldman Rosen, Ron Rosenzweig, Alan Sharfstein, Rachel Heller Scott, Steve Wexler, Andrea Weinberger, and Fran Weingast. Formal installation of those elected will take place at the first board meeting to be held on or after July 1st. The motion is to approve the slate of officers and board members as presented. If someone would like to formally make the motion, please enter your name on the chat, and thank you. If you would like to second the motion, please enter your name in the chat. I'm going to find the chat now. Okay, I see Suzette has made the motion, and do I have a second? Andrea Weinberg has second, and so has Donna. Thank you very much. Donna Weintraub, let's be formal about it. Okay, So due to the virtual nature of this meeting, we will be holding the election via Zoom poll. In a moment, a poll will show up on your screen. Please select yes, no, or abstain for the vote. It will remain available for voting for about 1 moment. Josh, can you please post the poll? Okay, we're going to keep it up just for a few more seconds. Thank you all for voting. We will have the results in a moment. Okay, we have an overwhelming agreement that the motion passes. So thank you all. Thank you all for your votes and for your confidence. The motion passes. Congratulations to all the new officers and trustees. I look forward to working with you and hope that we can all get together in person for our meeting soon. Thank you all. At this time, I would like to introduce a video overview of Federation's work during 2020. Josh, could you please share the video?
2020, a year like no other, and like no other organization, Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey was built for this moment. On March 12th, the World Health Organization declared a global pandemic, and the world started shutting down.
This morning, I signed an executive order directing nearly all of our 9 million residents to quite simply stay at home.
Although Federation's office did close, our work never stopped. In one of the biggest tests our organization has ever faced, we knew that our community was relying on us, and we weren't going to let anyone down, here, in Israel, or around the globe. We immediately reimagined how Federation was going to do business. We were literally left with more questions than answers. No one knew what tomorrow would bring, and no one knew when the pandemic would end. But the one thing we did know was that our community was going to need action.
I remember on Thursday, March 12th, it was 2 o'clock, and we figured out we were in for a longer haul. We need PPE, we need extra cleaning, we need overtime, and the total number was $300,000. We continued to convene our agency directors on a weekly basis. And over the course of 2020, we distributed over $1.3 million.
Federation has always answered the call to help those in need, not just during a crisis, but each and every day. In ordinary times, our work never stops. But in extraordinary times, when our most vulnerable are at even greater risk, we kick into overdrive. And this was not just a local crisis. Our brothers and sisters in Nahariya, Israel, were having the same experience. To galvanize and create a plan of action, we turned to the experts, our agency executives. They were on the front line. We needed to learn what they were seeing and what they needed. This is where partnerships really matter.
There's no question that the last 15 months have been like no other 15 months for anybody working in our industry. Within 24 hours of the pandemic hitting us, we realized at JFCS that every single program and service that we provide to the community is essential. With the growth of food insecurity in our community, that's been incredibly dramatic. Federation has been there every step of the way, providing the funding that we've needed, providing the support that we've needed. Our relationship has never been better than it is now. There's nothing that's more helpful in doing our work than knowing that we're not alone.
And while this was going on, we still needed to make sure our community was safe. But suddenly, the word safe took on a whole new meaning.
So initially when I became the Director of Community Security, my main focus was to make sure I kept the community safe. When the pandemic hit, it changed things a little. It added a whole new twist to it because we really needed to fight a deadly virus that you couldn't see. We were able to help the synagogues communicate with the local police. We were able to help them obtain a security company or maybe have a guard during the services. And we realized that this was not going to be a quick fix and that we were going to be in it for the long haul. It was important people could work and worship in a safe manner.
Federation brought the community together to volunteer. People wanted to roll up their sleeves and help. There was so much energy around this that you knew we weren't just going to get through this pandemic, but we were going to emerge stronger.
In 2020, Supplies for Success distributed 1,800 backpacks to students in Bergen, Passaic, and Hudson counties to help start them out on the best foot forward in the coming school year.
I wanted to thank the Jewish Federation and the community for their kind donations that are going to be helping out all our clients and all of our clients' children.
In November, Mitzvah Day on the Move distributed 3,000 projects into the community addressing different population needs, from isolated seniors to vulnerable children to the homeless. Mega Food Drive took on a new role in our community. We introduced the Blue Bag Challenge, which was widely successful, and we were able to distribute 20,000 pounds of food to 17 different food pantries.
And then we were introduced to Zoom. Federation hosted our first virtual event on Zoom less than 30 days after closing our building. Since then, we've hosted nearly 100 events for all ages. So 2020 was truly the year we never imagined. We never could have dreamt of the chaos, confusion, and isolation that COVID-19 brought. We could never have envisioned a time when our entire staff worked out of their dining rooms, kitchens, and bedrooms. And yet, we never doubted Federation's ability to pivot and respond in a time of crisis. But this is not just about Federation. This is about Federation as a community with all its partners, friends, donors, and supporters. And here we are 15 months later, excelling with pride in our people and extreme gratitude for our community. Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey was built for this moment, and all the moments going forward in our everyday lives as our community rebounds, recovers, and thrives.
This past year was definitely a year we could have never imagined. But thanks to your support, we were able to rise to the challenges we faced and came together to make our community even stronger. Now let's hear from the man at the helm of our organization during this very turbulent time, our fantastic president, Lee Lasher.
Thank you, Jody. So I just finished reading an interesting short book called Is Resilience by Michael Dixon and Dr. Naomi Baum. The book was given to Jason and me as a gift during our recent emergency solidarity mission to Israel. The mission itself was a gift, but I guess this was a bonus. The authors postulate that Israelis in particular, and Jews in general, have a special affinity and trait of resilience, or the ability to recover quickly from challenges and difficulties. They cite 3 keys: empathy, flexibility, and creating meaning. The book tells the stories of individuals who epitomize resilience, including my good friend, Sherry Mandel, Rabbi Israel Meir Lau, Tal Brody, Natan Sharansky, who I'll get back to later, and others like Yusuf Haddad, an Israeli Arab from Nazareth, who joined the IDF, fought and was severely wounded in the Second Lebanon War, and travels the world, standing up for the state of Israel against BDS and exposing false narratives about Israel. And the book mentions other uplifting individuals as well. What struck me when I read this book is that the 3 characteristics mentioned, empathy, flexibility, and creating meaning, is exactly what our Jewish Federation has done during this past challenging year, a year we never imagined. COVID, economic hardship, isolation, political divide, anti-Semitism, attacks against Israel. And yet, I believe wholeheartedly, we have not only met the challenges, but have thrived and excelled. Let me give you some specific examples from this year. Over $14 million was raised and distributed by our Jewish Federation, including over $11 million to agencies and community programs. $1.3 million was distributed this year for COVID relief, including PPE for healthcare workers, senior homes, and J-Ed group homes, and hunger relief. 100% of all COVID emergency funding raised was distributed to the community. An additional $1.2 million was spent on providing food security for the elderly, and we supported 144,000 seniors in our community and around the globe. We held 88 virtual programs with close to 4,000 total registrants. And we took the initiative to combat anti-Semitism and bias in the media and in local communities, and we're in regular contact with government officials at all levels and law enforcement, expressing our community's concerns and needs, and more. How have we been able to pivot so well and make such an impact? It is because of another three keys. First, it is the power of our professional staff. Our CEO, Jason Shamish, and his leadership team, Lisa, Naomi, Andy, Laura, Robin, and the entire Jewish Federation staff. One of the best parts of my role as president is spending so much time with each of you and seeing not only the great job you do, but what wonderful people you are. Empathy, flexibility, and creating meaning are what you do day in and day out. Secondly, it is the power of our officers and board of trustees. I am humbled to serve with each of you and see your dedication, commitment, passion, kindness, and service to the community. Rabbi Sachs of blessed memory states, people do not become leaders because they are great. They become great because they are willing to serve as leaders. Each of you are great. And thirdly, it is the power from you, our generous supporters of Jewish Federation, who provide resources, volunteer, and make a difference. Very simply, these three levels, professional leadership, lay leadership, and the community together, are the power of the collective. We have proven that this year, and I am confident we can continue to do so and do even better, accomplish even more. As it says in Kohelet, Chut hamishulash lo yinakeh, a three-ply cord is not easily broken. Speaking of the power of the collective, on our recent trip in Israel, we had breakfast with new Israel President Isaac Herzog, who I actually went to Ramaz with in the 1970s when he lived in New York, when his father, Chaim Herzog, was Israel's UN ambassador. He thanked us for coming to Israel, and he said, and this is a quote, "The Jewish Federation system is the backbone and strength of Jewish life in America. Please never lose sight of this, and I hope you will increase your support to our Jewish Federation so we can meet the serious challenges we now face." One of these serious challenges is combating anti-Semitism and building coalitions and strategic relationships with the Black, Hispanic, Asian, and broader communities. As Jason recently outlined in his weekly message, we are going to have a staff member devoted full-time to standing up against anti-Semitism, providing education and resources to the community, and building relationships with other community groups so that we can find common ground and respect with other racial, ethnic, and religious groups in our community. We cannot ignore the rising tide of misinformation and animosity that is being directed at our community. This position will expand our ability to combat that hate and create new partnerships. I am deeply grateful to the 2 core donors for this initiative, and we are raising money to finish funding this position. If you are interested in helping us reach our goal, please contact Jason or me. A quick thank you to my family, Gabrielle and Jake Moskowitz, and my grandson Noah, my sons David and Jake, and to my wife Cheryl, who is my #1 fan, except when she says, "You are on the cover of the Jewish Standard again?" Let me get back to Natan Sharansky and conclude with a story of someone I know who lives and teaches in Israel. A few years ago, he and his wife went into a bakery in Jerusalem and noticed they were standing in line right behind Sharansky. Ironically, this person had just cited from Sharansky's book that week in a class he was teaching on Sefer Tehillim. He had also explained to the class the inspiring story of how Sharansky kept a tiny book of Tehillim with him at all times, even when he had to struggle with prison authorities to get it back. So he decided to be somewhat brash and Israeli and said to Sharansky, "Excuse me," and proceeded to tell him all of this story. At that point, Sharansky smiled, reached into his shirt pocket, and pulled out a tiny, palm-sized, tattered book of Tehillim. The person was stunned and asked him, "Do you carry that wherever you go?" Sharansky didn't pause and replied, "Actually, it carries me." I would like to conclude by saying that it is community that carries me, and really all of us. I ask that each of you think about this and support and carry community with you wherever you go. It is not what we do for ourselves, but what we give to others that will be our true legacy and fill our life with meaning. The secret to our success: empathy, flexibility, and creating meaning. Blessings and good night.
Thank you, Lee. It is always inspiring to hear you speak. And I know that you have the community's best interests at heart. We're so grateful for your leadership and fortunate to have you as our president.
Thank you.
Next, I want to turn to those who are the mainstays of our community. We have 3 awards to present this evening to individuals who have truly made meaningful impacts on our community. The first award is the Marge Bornstein Award for Outstanding Volunteerism. Marge Bornstein served 3 terms as the first woman president of the Jewish Federation of North Jersey, and also served as the president of 13 other Jewish and secular organizations. Her leadership, vision, commitment to service, and personal philanthropy had an immeasurable impact on the quality of life in our community. It is in her honor that we introduce the recipient of this year's Marge Bornstein Award for Outstanding Volunteerism, Carol Silverstein. I had the pleasure of working with Carol when she served as Federation's campaign chair, just one of the many leadership positions that Carol has held in our community. Her concern for the Jewish people and dedication to community is exemplary, and she is richly deserving of this very special award. To hear more about Carol and her contributions to our community, Please direct your attention to this video.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Leon Sokol, and I am here to present the Marge Bornstein Award for Volunteerism to my dear friend, Carol Silverstein. When you think about a volunteer who has been dedicated to the Jewish community, the first person I think of is Carol, who has dedicated a substantial part of her adult life to our community. She's been a member of the Federation Board. She's been a member of the Jewish Home Board, and most recently, the chairman of the Jewish Home family during one of the most difficult times that organization has faced. During the pandemic, all of you know what nursing homes and assisted living facilities have faced. And those facilities, with the guidance of Carol as the chair of Home Family, have come through with flying colors. It gives me great pleasure to make the Marge Bornstein Award to my friend and colleague, Carol Silverstein.
Well, naturally, I was very honored to hear that I was the recipient of the Marge Bornstein Award. I didn't know her, but I certainly knew of her. And she's just the epitome of volunteerism. Getting involved in Federation was very interesting. In the old days, a phrase I use really frequently now, we had something called suite solicitations. I don't think too many people know what that is now. We had the old building in River Edge, and it was very crowded. So Federation used to rent hotel space, usually along Route 4, and potential donors and donors like myself would be asked to make an appointment and go for a suite solicitation. So I did, and Howard Charish, who was our prior CEO, asked me what interested me, and I immediately said Israel. We have tons of family there, and Alan and I have been involved with Israel for many, many years. And so Howard said, well, if that's the case, you need to join the Overseas Allocations Committee. And I did. There, kind of challenging at first, lots of acronyms, learning to read budgets, learning to understand grant applications, but it pretty much came into place within the first few months. And before I knew it, I was chair. And that was great. I think that was the best volunteer experience of my life. We went to Israel frequently to see how the recipients of our donations were operating. I have been thinking about what I would tell younger people who want to get involved in leadership, and it's kind of based on my own experience. For those who do, it is really important to learn about how the organization works, what the goals of the organization are, who the staff is, who the volunteers are, and is that going to be a good fit for you? And if you can accomplish that, you're going to have a wonderful experience at the organization. It is very hard to be a volunteer unless you have family support, but in my case, it was actually my husband who was much more involved in organizational life than I was. We both realize how fortunate we are. He's the child of Holocaust survivors, so we support each other. And of course, you can't really succeed if you don't have good leadership at the top of the organization. So going back to Howard Charish, who quote unquote discovered me, I have to thank him. Of course, Jason, I worked with Jason for a very long time. And Carol Silver Elliott has been a great mentor. We both started, she started a little bit before I did. And she's just the master of everything. She's so knowledgeable in the area. I have learned so much. So I'm thankful to all the people that I've worked with. We are lucky in northern New Jersey to have really top leadership.
Mazel tov, Carol. You are truly an asset to our community, and we're very lucky to have you here in northern New Jersey. Our second award is the Howard E. Charish Award for Professional Excellence. Jewish Federation's Board of Trustees established the annual Howard E. Charish Award for Professional Excellence in 2011 as a tribute to Howard, our former executive vice president. The award recognizes an outstanding individual who is continuing along a career path at a Jewish communal institution in northern New Jersey and demonstrates the capacity to make lasting change in our community. Awardees demonstrate capacity for exceptional leadership, innovative thinking, and significant contributions to the community. We are proud to announce that this year's winner of the Howard E. Charish Award is Judy Youngman of BBYO. Let's meet her now.
So I met Judy Youngman, it was 18 years ago. Exactly, pretty much 18 years ago. My son was post-bar mitzvah, and they were having at the YJCC Washington Township, a opening, just an icebreaker to meet the incoming memberships of BBYO. My first impression to Judy was I was bedazzled from the beginning. I liked everything about her. She actually is one of my longtime mentors because she was very passionate about the organization. She was very dedicated to the many years of working there and what it did for the youth of the community. So Judy is a really special person. She has a warm and generous heart, always aiming to give of herself to better the community. That's what Judy Youngman embodies. Thank you, Judy, for your unwavering commitment and dedication to the Jewish youth and the future leaders of tomorrow. Congratulations on this well-deserved honor.
My work in the Jewish community has been incredibly important throughout my entire life. I've always found a need to be connected to my Judaism, and working with teens and working with my community in outreach, in one-on-one, has just been so important to me. It started basically when I was in high school, when I became a BBG. It went on through the years when I moved to New Jersey and decided that I needed to get involved and I needed to find something to do with my time. When I was a young girl and I was a BBG, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the friends I made, with the philosophy of the organization, with the Judaism that it brought back into my life. I really loved it. Once my child was ready to go into the program, I promised her that since I had always been involved in everything up until that point, I wouldn't get involved in BBYO. But 6 months into her belonging to the organization, they needed an advisor, and I said, sure, why not? And that's how the journey began, and it's been a wonderful journey. And that was the summer of 1989, so it's been quite a long ride. Our teenagers are our future, our foundation, the stability of Judaism. We need to engage our teens so that they feel connected with Judaism, so that they want to raise their children in the same way that we've raised ours. We want them to feel the sense of leadership. It's an amazing thing to me, after all these years, I still get calls, texts, emails from young people who are now in their 40s, these young people, telling me that they still hear the things I've taught them. And that's the most rewarding thing that I have. I am an incredibly blessed woman to be living with a guy, you know, it's only 53 years that we're together, but who supports everything I do and has given me the opportunities to grow as a person, to grow as a Jew, to grow as a professional. In closing, I really want to thank everybody involved in making this happen today. I want to thank the Federation for all that they do to support all of the activities in Bergen County and the other counties that we're in. I think that they are a tremendous asset and great visionary, and I'm totally honored and truly honored to be a part of something that recognizes what Howard did for so many years and to be in a category with so many honored people. I thank you for this honor. It means a great deal to me to be recognized at this stage of my life for my lifelong joy of work. Thank you.
Mazel tov, Judy, and thank you for your service and congratulations on your retirement. Our final award tonight is always a fun one for me. The Rhoda Award recognizes a member of the incredible and dedicated staff at Jewish Federation and is named for Rhoda Schiraldi, a beloved member of the staff who is known for always being there for her colleagues, as well as for her positive outlook on life. The recipient is usually surprised at the annual meeting, but since we couldn't do that this year because our meeting is virtual, take a look at how this year's winner was surprised at a fake staff meeting held in the Federation's parking lot last week. Josh, please roll the video.
Presenting with my colleagues a very special award, the Rhoda Award. Rhoda was actually before my time, but I know that she was a person that was loved by everyone. She was a role model to her colleagues. She knew the meaning of family, both personally and professionally, and she made every member of her professional family feel respected.
This year's Rhoda Award recipient embodies those same special qualities. She's a consummate professional, extremely proactive. She always has ideas to improve the quality and the outcome of every project. She motivates her colleagues through clear direction, goal setting, humor, and kindness. She's approachable, considerate, and welcoming, and wants to see those around her succeed. She makes everything fun and treats everyone as an equal.
Our Federation colleagues describe this year's nominee as committed, professional, role model, thoughtful, supportive, creative, approachable, upbeat, considerate, passionate, devoted, witty, and affable.
We are
honored
to present this year's Rhoda Award to Laura Freeman.
You guys are a lot.
Hold it up.
Oh, hold it up. Okay. Oh, I kind of would have worn something different. So I am one of the very, very lucky people in the world who's actually happy every Monday morning to get up and go to work. And I love all the people that I work with. I love what I do. It's meaningful, it's challenging, it's exciting. And I'm just really blessed to have all of you in my life every single Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And this is very meaningful to me. So thank you very, very much.
How great was that to see all of the Federation staff there? I miss you guys so much. Mazel tov, Laura, so well deserved. As a former Rhoda awardee, I'm so happy to welcome you to this group. I know that was a little self-serving, but anyway, let's move on. I would now like to invite our CEO, Jason Shamus, to say a few words.
I'm on, sorry, a little technical difficulties. And Jody, you can always come back. Good evening and thank you. It's hard to believe this is my 11th annual meeting remarks and to think that I still tell people I'm the new guy. In all truth and fairness, it's just a trick to deflect the blame and angst elsewhere, since really no one ever complains to me. However, and in all honesty, it's been an honor serving in this esteemed role. And I want to thank my wife, Amy, for supporting me in this effort. Amy is a first responder who diligently and dutifully served at the Jewish Home Assisted Living Facility during the toughest of times. As such, I not only thank her tonight for being my partner, but also symbolically thank her on behalf of all those in our community who served on the front lines during the pandemic. Amy and her peers are the real heroes over the past 15 months. I want to congratulate our well-deserved award winners tonight, Carol Silberstein, Judy Youngman, and Laura Freeman, a trio of women whose legacy and impact in our community cannot be understated. I've known each of you now for a long time, and the admiration and respect I have for you certainly extends beyond my oratory capacities. Each one of you has played a critical role in making Northern New Jersey a great place to live a Jewish life, and thank you. If we were in person, I would ask all federations to stand up, all federation presidents to stand up and be acknowledged. These leaders have continuously set the standards for where we are today and have earned the right to be publicly thanked by all of us. And speaking of presidents, I want to welcome and congratulate Dan Schluffman on his nomination as incoming president for 2022. I look forward to watching him grow into this role as his predecessors have before him. I want to thank Rena Donnan-Schlussel and Larry Weiss for their service as officers, and I'm grateful that they will be remaining on the board. And a hearty welcome to our new officers, Joel Halpern, Donna Weintraub, and Tracy Zor. When David Goodman, Svi Marins, and I sat down a decade ago to reimagine our governance, we bet on a new model, one that would provide stability and at the same time create a pipeline and desire to serve. A decade later, the strength in our board and in our leadership is passing that litmus test. In that vein, I want to acknowledge our outgoing board members, Karen Farber, Fred Fish, Michal Levison, and Steve Rogers for their service, and at the same time, welcome back Nathan Lindenbaum. When Jody retired back in January, I was devastated. In fact, I frequently check in with her just in case her boredom from fun and freedom has set in. Yet apparently I still can't compete with the shore, Mahjong, hanging with Scuba Dave, the kids, and of course, Russell. So thank you so much for coming back tonight as our special MC. As I conclude the gratitude portion of my remarks, I want to thank two very special leaders who steered us while we entered the unknown of the pandemic. Roberta, I can never really thank you enough. Your presidency ended a year ago in an environment that we could have never have foreseen. You handled it with dignity and grace befitting of a leader. You facilitated a true model for transition and remain a critical piece of Federation's present and future. In many ways, the transition from Roberta, a member of the Reform movement living in Montvale, to Lee Lasher, a member of the Orthodox community in Englewood, truly captures the essence of our Federation and community. Lee's presidency began like no other. Saddled with a crisis, Lee never wavered. His insights and keen sense of Jewish community, combined with practicality and a passion for our work, has been a vaccine in and of itself. Getting to know Lee and the Lasher family is a privilege. Yes, the Jewish Standards Lee Lasher autobiography is real, every bit of it. I'm eagerly looking forward to working with Lee and building bridges within and from outside the Jewish community. Lee truly wants all aspects of Jewish life at the table and practices what he preaches. He has continued the tradition of great Federation leaders, and I want to thank him publicly again for all that he has done for our community, and I'm eager to see what he can accomplish in a more traditional in-person year. Now on to my remarks. If you are a fan of Michael Scott and the TV show The Office, you may be familiar with the second rule of business: adapt, react, apt. Funny as that skit may be, and if you haven't seen it, you should, it would also aptly describe our work this past year and change. The pandemic forced us to question everything and act differently. Led by a great senior management team and staff, working with the very best in lay leadership and partnering with caring, mission-driven community agencies and partners, we met the challenge. There are no words that I can proffer that could possibly explain or validate the work that our community employees undertook to meet this challenge. The endless hours, the emotional and mental investment, the physical toll, and even one's safety simply cannot be understated. Every colleague of mine, whether at an agency, school, or elsewhere, has earned their right to stand tall and stand proud. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Today is as much about how we responded to be the very best we can be. The pandemic robbed us of so many in our community. They will never be forgotten. Yet the look back also reflects on a resilient community that never lost sight of its humanity and concern for one another. You've seen the videos, read the stories, and witnessed the response firsthand. We delivered more because we raised more. and we raised more because you all cared and understood. And again, all I can do is say thank you. The COVID-19 pandemic valley has seemingly passed us. While we are still climbing out and gradually reopening, we are not only weary of potential setbacks, but also positioning to deal with a very different kind of new pandemic, the pandemic of anti-Semitism. Not a virus in the scientific sense, yet similar in some ways, viral anti-Semitism has become contagious or infectious in our society. Whether it's social media, the mainstream media, individual or organized, the rhetoric and conduct towards Jews in Israel has been appalling. We are facing a new daunting task. The conflict in Israel spawned a viral-like spread of hate and discourse, the likes of which we have not seen before. The Palestinians and anti-Zionists have expanded their platform to attack Jews in Israel by co-opting groups like Black Lives Matter and the Chicago Dyke March. They've become more sophisticated and, quite frankly, more successful. The most recent violence in Israel showcased this success. On a political level, for example, we had a previously very supportive senator condemn Israel first before explaining why she had the right to defend herself. Our governor found himself lobbied in every direction, and in his attempt to remain neutral, remained silent. In Philadelphia, the Taste of Home food truck event uninvited an Israeli-owned food truck. Locally, a Board of Education meeting in Clifton was interrupted with calls from elected members to condemn Israel. A local paper ran an article on its front page of the Sunday edition about a Jewish minority of one who lambasted Israel and Jews who support Israel. Rutgers University, with the largest Jewish student body in the country, capitulated to Students for Justice in Palestine and recalled a statement that condemned anti-Semitism. I can go on and on. There is some good news, though. Much like we stood up to the COVID pandemic, we are standing up to the anti-Israel and anti-Semitic pandemic as well. Federation leadership met with the new president at Rutgers, the editorial staff at the Bergen Record, held a rally in Tenafly and a parade in Teaneck. We were instrumental in resolving incidents in Tenafly and are now active in Clifton. As Lee mentioned, we've created a new position with a focus on building relationships with other groups. Much like years ago, when we hired a community security director to not only respond to local safety issues, but to build our capacities, this new position will endeavor to do the same. There is a short-term and long-term strategy. So when asked why Federation, the answer is clear. What we do is unique in our local Jewish community. We have the access, resources, and knowledge to positively impact the Jewish communities in ways no one else can. We simply do what no one else does or can. You may not read about it in the paper or see it on the news, but know that when Jews or Israel are threatened, we are there. Our mission and purpose is clear, and we will not deviate. It's why I will now start saying, when asked, why Federation? Because in all seriousness, we adapt, react, readapt, and act to make our Jewish community the very best it could be. As is our custom when we conclude seders and orders like this one and other festivities, we always say next year in Jerusalem. This year, we are also going to say next year in person. Thank you, and please enjoy this quick look at what it meant to work at Federation this past year.
Good morning, Ari. Thank you so much for calling me back. Oh, excuse me. Let me get that.
Yes, hold on one second. Mute. Deme un momentico que se tengo que terminar que algo en el trabajo.
I'm hungry, Mom.
Oh my goodness.
Uh-huh. Yes, that's great. Well, thank you so much for your contribution.
Oh, God. That was amazing. Love that. Jason, great remarks once again. It's a great evening. We really have done so much this year. I say we because it comes from all of us in the community. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight and for sharing in the important work that Federation does. Through your incredible dedication and generosity, together, we will continue to support and strengthen our Jewish community for generations to come. Thank you to Federation staff for serving the community through what has been an unimaginable year. And a special thank you to the marketing group of Laura, Sandra, Catalina, and Kim for putting together the great, fantastic, amazing videos that were shown tonight. They really were terrific. Federation has the best team, and I really miss all of them very much. For the last time, I'm going to say this. I hope that we will all be together in person at next year's annual meeting. Everyone have a wonderful summer and good night.